let's turn to a sore moment in the sport, Leighton. There's so many of them coming every day. I feel like if you spent your entire time just following the athletics integrity unit, you couldn't stop. It's just
Mm.
athlete after athlete. But the
I go
one
on it
that,
every day.
yeah, I'm like, I get like the personalized feeds from them because you just can't keep up. At some moments, I've lost track of how many Kenyans. We didn't even talk about
140,
the, yeah,
142.
yeah. And we didn't get a chance to chat about Roop Chepengetich and all of that stuff. You know, we just saw Mohammed Katir recently. His case at court for arbitration for sport was
Mm,
also not upheld because, well, the ban was upheld rather because he was
mm.
technically trying to tamper with medical things for whereabouts. So, but the Marvin Bracy, I want to get to Marvin Bracy because this is interesting because I always take keynote on the operational side of how they go after the after anti-dopers in the United States, especially since Rodchenkov Act and so on. But Bracy hit with a 45-month ban. It could have been longer. That's kind of a split between some whereabouts violation, but also for taking a banned substance. Got time off from that part for cooperating in some interesting ways. What's your take on all of this? Are you expecting a big a bunch of other athletes to come to get caught up in this, or are we thinking more of the outside networks that provide the drugs?
Right now, it's looking like outside networks because um, a couple of things. Bracy left Tumbleweed in September of 2023 and went to Star Athletics.
Yeah.
And less than September, October, November, December, January, February, less than 5 months in, he's on a provisional suspension on February the 3rd. I saw a video from Ray's Take, which I mentioned in that video, not the last one, the one previous to that, where Ray claims that Marvin Bracy came to him shortly after Budapest in 2023 and he's making some assertions that, boy, some of the men who have beat him, he knows he can beat.
Mm.
Remember, Marvin Bracy, for those who are not familiar, was the silver medalist at the World Championships in 2022 when
22.
America swept this. Yeah. Trayvon Bromell was third, Marvin Bracy was second, Fred Curley won. And in 2023, he ran a couple of races. I ran 993, I think it was, but after that, nothing until he left and went to Star Athletics. Now, according to Ray, Bracy came to him and so he gave Bracy a number for somebody who believes could probably hook him up with whatever need.
Mm.
And then he gets a call maybe weeks later saying that USADA is there testing him. Then him said USADA turned up at his place, ask him questions about Marvin Bracy. Now, what he's claiming, he provided no evidence of. So I don't know whether or not he's telling the truth or not, because I know that he's one that is not he's not averse to hyperbole.
Right.
Ray does these dramatics from time to time. So, but if what he's saying is true, then it might have some implication for what happens at Star Athletics, in the sense that if he is taking something that is illegal and the question is, did Dennis Mitchell know? Because there's a sense that Dennis Mitchell was the one who was the whistleblower as well. I mean, that's another argument that has no credit. There's no credence. That's just word.
Mm.
But if Dennis Mitchell is not the person who went to USADA with the information, then it kind of casts a shadow over the performances that we've seen there. So that is still to be unraveled. But as it relates to the initial question that you asked, Travis Taggart, in a couple of quotes that I read from him, said that Bracy cooperated. He
Substantial. He says he provided substantial assistance.
Assistance, right? Which means that he probably spilled on some of the people who provided him. So that maybe doctors who are doing this, or maybe people who are making the connection between him and the people who are administering whatever he took. So the impression you get is that in the coming weeks we could probably hear of a few new names or some familiar names,
right,
who are working behind the scenes with athletes who are inclined to boost performance, so to speak. So I don't know. It's one of those situations where there's still a lot of gray area now. What we do know is that Bracy's out for until November 2028.
yeah,
so he won't
done.
he's done. And what we do know is that what I'd like to happen though is that, look, I know there are people who are thinking that Melissa Jefferson was on something. I'm not one of those people who believe that when somebody performs well, it necessarily translates to them doing something illegal. We've seen her talent from college. We saw her come third in the Olympics last year in the rain. So she comes out this season, she runs some 10.7s and then dropped down to 10.6s and stayed there for the rest of the season. I'm not going to say that's extraordinary. That's something that we saw Shelly do in 2022. So I don't know if it will be prudent for them to say, maybe even release a statement, read the Marvin Bracy suspension and to separate themselves from it as opposed to staying silent. Because the thing about it is damned if you do and damned if you don't. Because if you do, then people are going to say they might try separate themselves from something that they already knew about. But then if they don't, then it leaves people to speculate. Yeah, you say you're hiding something. So it's a tricky situation. But for Marvin Bracy, it's one and done for him, because that was the first individual medal that he won in 2022, and pretty much his career is done now, basically.
Right, and they also had that relay medal to a 22.
Yeah,
couple things on this. So yeah, I agree with you. I am always adamant that you can't in this business you can't do guilt by association. You have to have everything has to line up. You have to catch the athlete if you think if it is most certainly from what they would have been doing late, and you know this, everybody knows this, from the time the corporation started or even before, there would have been increased outer competition testing. They would be doing all sort of maneuvering. We know this. AIU has that in the code, the protocol. Tygart himself says USADA does this. If they suspect something, they go looking. This is what happened in the Chepngetich case for after she broke the world record, and clearly they couldn't go us back all the way to invalidate the world record, but they got her eventually. They knew what's happening. In this case, it's interesting because he's under investigation with the DEA, Miami Field Division. They're there along with everybody else. So, and when you bring in those guys, they're not interested in what Marvin Bracy took. They are interested in who he got it from, right? They have, and my numbers are mixing up now, because I always talk to my Justice Department contacts, and under I think it's title 18 or 21, I have to check. They are looking for the medical clinics, the doctors, the masseuse, the coaches, and that's the same thing that Rodchenkov, that's the first bill that Trump ever signed into office when he came in, was the Rodchenkov Act, and that's the same thing that went after the Blessing Akabari / Eric Lira case. So we all saw Blessing lost everything, but she didn't go to jail. Lira did, and he had to cough up all of these things. And so the way Travis is saying this is like they're pursuing a lot more anti-doping violations and criminal charges. And so the criminal charges are going to come for anybody associated, and the violations obviously for athletes. This could be bad, but if it is bad, I am happy, because you want to get to the bottom of this. The sport has to be clean as best as we can, and we can't go towards enhanced games or whatever people want to talk about. We have to. It's always unfortunate. We've seen nothing has been quite as big as this, but well, I don't know. Is anything bigger than Balco? Was the Salazar thing?
No, Balco.
Yeah.
Not really. Salazar, I think, was It
The
was
Oregon
0-0
Ducks.
but
Yeah,
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 but it's the thing about the Salazar thing is that none of the athletes that Salazar was involved with were like names in the lights. So it was like
who got
just
positive? Who
below.
got tested positive? Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. But the Balco thing had Marion Jones, it had
Yeah,
all kind of big names. Ted
yeah,
Montgomery,
yeah,
it dragged in Maurice Green for a time at HSI. It dragged in a number of people who were high profile people within the sport. So Balco was the big thing. I mean, remember Balco even went to Barry Bonds and
yeah.
Matt McCoy.
Everybody, yeah, yeah. It's the biggest thing to
So
be honest with you.
yeah, that was the biggest thing. So I mean, Conte died recently. I remember
Yeah,
him saying having a very unfortunate interview where he was trying to draw down Jadko here in Jamaica, having
right.
never visited Jamaica and don't know what it looks like. While I was very intimately involved with how the operations were going and the changes that WADA made. Changes, by the way, which I had suggested to the Minister of Sport at the time. so yeah, but the thing about it is that yeah, so that Balkari era was
Yeah,
is,
it's
is
it's
probably
the
the biggest.
worst, and we've learned a lot from that. I'll point to something you said because you made an interesting point, and I wanted to make a comment on that, or just to highlight it. Statements from other athletes. So you remember if we go back to the Oregon thing, the likes of a Mo Farah and others, they immediately at some point like we had nothing to do,
Yeah,
we're gonna leave. If it becomes that it's bigger than what it looks like, then athletes have to start moving. They have to make the
yeah,
statement. It just can't. It just can't.
yeah.
Yeah,
You can't leave people to speculate because people always invariably speculate the wrong thing.